So Villanova, Duke, and Kentucky, three of the biggest programs in the sport. They combined to win 16 NCAA tournaments. All lost this weekend. The teams that were ranked outside of the top 125 at KenPom at tip-off. Final scores: Georgia Tech 72, Duke 68. Blue Devils closed as a 12.5-point favorite. UNC Wilmington 80, Kentucky 73. Wildcats closed as a 17.5-point favorite. Drexel 57. Number 18, Villanova at the time, 55. Villanova closed as a 10.5-point favorite. Duke, Kentucky, Villanova, Deadleg. Which of these teams are you most concerned about?
This is the current, this is the chat poll question. We had Purdue in there as well. Which result, big picture, carries the most significance? So I'll refresh that at the end of the segment here. Villanova, Duke, Kentucky, oh, by the way, all teams ranked in the preseason, all expected to be better from a season ago. So not just, three blue bloods, recent championships. It was more about what the setup for. I would order it. I would go Nova, then Duke, then Kentucky. But having said that, Kentucky is my last one, and I want to get to each of these games here. Kentucky's the only one that lost on its home floor. Nova lost at Wells Fargo, but it was the inaugural Big Five Classic. And shouts to St. Joe's, by the way, the official winner of that. Kentucky's the only one that lost on its home floor. The Finn is Villanova's home floor. Duke lost on the road. For me, it's Nova because, first of all, it's the first time Villanova has been felled by Drexel, Penn, St. Joe's in the same year. Had never happened. This was only Drexel's second win ever over Villanova. The other one came back in 06-07. Justin Moore was a non-factor. 4 points, didn't shoot well. Mark Armstrong, he cannot continue to be this much of a no-show. He is a really, he's a player with a really good ceiling. And I know that Kyle Neptune knows that he is just waiting to come out of his shell, but he can't continue to not be productive. They need Mark Armstrong to be better. Villanova shot just 33% from the floor and made 5 of its 27 3-point shots, GP. I would say I think crisis is too much, but you cannot be the coach at Villanova and continue to lose this many games against mid-major teams. The fan base, rightfully so, is going to get really noisy and isn't going to tolerate this kind of stuff. No shot, man. So to me, and I do want to get to the other two, and I would agree if anyone said, hey, look, Duke and Kentucky losing are the louder ones. To me, and if you even want to throw Purdue in, I think I'd put Purdue just ahead of Kentucky, even though that one was on the road. But the Nova one for me, we have a pattern has been established here, and to drop a game, Big Five game, Wells Fargo against Drexel, that one's for me. What about for you?
I think I agree. And it's not just because Villanova lost this weekend to Drexel. It's that since Kyle Neptune has taken over, Villanova has been doing stuff like this nonstop. I tweeted this a few weeks back when Villanova lost to Penn. That right now, Kyle Neptune has coached 43 games at Villanova. To this moment, he's coached 43 times at Villanova. And he has already lost to 6 sub-100 KenPom teams. 6 times in 43 games has Villanova lost to a sub-100 KenPom team since Kyle Neptune took over. Now, that might not mean anything to you without context, but here's another fact. Jay Wright only lost 2 times in his final 321 games as Villanova's coach to a sub-100 KenPom team. 2 times in 321 games. Kyle Neptune has lost 6 times in only 43. What do you make of that?
I make of it that it can't continue if Neptune doesn't want the seat to get warm. I cannot see personally, given Neptune's longstanding relationship with that university, and I think that Villanova is going to, Villanova's been against everyone but Philadelphia schools. I could see a situation where Nova does well for itself in the Big East, and third, fourth. I think that's still well for itself by definition. And you've got this weird blip, and they get into the tournament, and we'll see. I don't think that there's any change after year 2. I just can't see that situation playing out. However, you carry this like if we're doing a December episode in 2024 about this kind of stuff as well. Villanova fans and the people around the program, the administration, rightfully so. Like, you want to maintain. You dominated the Big East, and league play hasn't started yet, so we'll see what happens here in year 2. But once it got reformed, you became the big kid on the block. Right now, that is UConn. Right, that is Marquette. Villanova's not at that table at the moment. This season was about getting back to that point. So don't mess around and find out. And we'll see. I still like the roster. I still like what they've got there. But I would say that was the most urgent. I would say Duke is 2. So Georgia Tech gets 2 wins over ranked teams this week. And credit to Damon Stoudemire. One is Mississippi State, although Mississippi State just lost on Sunday at home to Southern, so that even that win gets a little bit taken off. That was among the worst losses of any team of this weekend. We had a ton of upsets, just a ton of upsets.
Oh, God. First off, before Mississippi State lost to Southern, I ain't heard a thing. Internet's out in Starkville. Apparently. Okay. All right? I ain't heard a thing.
It's spreading. Okay.
I ain't heard a thing.
Okay. The internet.
But all morning, I don't want to exaggerate. It wasn't all morning I was bombarded, but like multiple people. GP, when Mississippi State lost to Georgia Tech, you removed them from the top 25 and won. Why don't you hold Duke to the same standard? Well, you want to know the truth? I dropped Duke further than I dropped Mississippi State. It's just that Duke was in the top 10 or wherever Duke was. So Mississippi State was like 25th and lost to Georgia Tech, so you get them out.
Yeah.
Is it really hard for people to understand why if the 25th team loses to Georgia Tech, they're probably out? But when the 10th ranked team does it, they might not slip all the way out. Is that hard for people to understand?
You can't reason with these people. What do you want from me? So no, you did drop Duke appropriately so, and then they go and they lose. Like they didn't have. Well, first of all, they didn't have Tyrese Proctor. He barely played a minute. Lower leg injury. We'll see what's going on there. Real quick on Tech, I wanted to give at least credit for this. This is a program that got doubled up last year by Duke, 86 to 43. So they lost by 43 points. They come around, they beat them in the opener there. The program is 2-16 the last 18 times it's played Duke. So Damon Stoudemire, that's big time stuff early. So credit to Georgia Tech for getting the win. This game, by the way, was on the CW, which I found it, but I got to get used to that. It's another channel to add. And I know the football fans were well ahead of this with the ACC and the CW, but the CW is a thing. I tell you what, though, it's not a good sign for Duke, even without Proctor. Okay, like Georgia Tech didn't shoot well from 3-point range, but yet it led this game for more than 34 minutes. It had better ball movement, was better on defense, had better shot selection, better foul shooting numbers, and in getting to the line. They did this, and they did not have 1 second chance point in this game to Georgia Tech. So for Duke now to have been, oh, by the way, been blocked 18 total times in his most recent 2 road games, Arkansas and now Georgia Tech. That's alarming. Filipowski, I would say for him, it was a subpar kind of day. And Shire is now 4-8 on the road. They're 2 road games, and you got to go to Arkansas, quick turnaround league opener. I get it, but if you're Duke and you're for real and you're preseason top 5, you're not losing both of these games. It did. And so now Shire, by nature of these 2 losses happening, Parrish, when they did in such close quarters, and they're both 2 unranked teams at the time they came. Now they're both on the road. I get it. This is how you get some noise kind of, perking up. And we mentioned this, I think, earlier in the season. Shire's done an incredible job recruiting, but the other end of that sword is that if you do that and you continue to win on that, which of course that's going to continue to happen, why wouldn't it? Don't go be losing, twice as many games as you win on the road. And that's the case in his young career right now. I think they'll probably get things figured out. And I want to be specific on this because I think, sometimes commentators can just say this kind of stuff and be broad. By figure things out specifically, what I'm referring to is Duke can get it together to where it is a top 3 team in the ACC, and make the second weekend of the tournament, which it did last year. What were your impressions of that game and what we have or don't have with Duke right now?
Well, you lose Proctor early, that matters, right? If you're looking for an excuse or an explanation, or I guess it could be both. You can start there. I am more concerned about Villanova than I am Duke, if only because, like, Villanova, as you put it, has they were dominating the Big East under Jay Wright for a long period of time. Now, it did come after the Big East sort of broke up, but whatever. You get go look at the Wikipedia page. It is one title after another. They've gone Villanova with one coaching change from dominating the Big East to getting dominated in the Big Five. That's not good. All right. So I'm concerned there. I'm not as concerned at Duke, but it is undeniable. Like, we don't have to lie to each other. This is the second straight year where people go, man, look at Duke's roster. They're set up to be great. And then we start playing games and we go, what's wrong with Duke? Why ain't they winning more? Why are they losing so much? Now, they did figure it out last year.
And they had injuries last year to start.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Derek Lively took a while to get going. They had injuries. There is actually a lot of – it's very easy to look at the details of last season at Duke and go, well, yeah, this is why they took a while to get it going. Their best freshman prospect was a role player all year, really. And who's, by the way, been pretty good in the NBA so far. But he was not a great college basketball player, at least not early, and he never got anywhere close to where he was supposed to be, at least projected to be coming into the season. So there was a lot of, hey, if you're sincerely asking, hey, can you tell me what's wrong with Duke? Well, yeah, I can. Boom, 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 boom. And in fairness to Kyle Neptune, he played much of last season without Justin Moore, right? There's always a lot of stuff that contribute to this. But all that said, this is still true. Duke was considered among the top 3 favorites in the country in the preseason to win the national championship. And now Duke is 5-3 with a loss at home to Arizona and 2 losses to unranked teams. Those are just facts. That's not great.
They are facts, and there's still more to come with Duke later this later this month, where it can redeem itself, or it can make this to be an even bigger story if it doesn't pull this out, because they've got Baylor. The big one is Baylor. The next 2 should not be pushes, although they're not bad mid-major teams. They've got Charlotte next weekend, and then they've got Hofstra after that, which is actually a quality CAA team, and then they've got Baylor at the Garden. I plan on being on hand for that. Let's get to Kentucky right now. GP, the poll results. Which big picture, which loss is carrying the most significance? Kentucky is winning the poll, 35%. Duke at 30%, Nova 18%, Purdue at 17%. But Kentucky is winning it. Now, Kentucky, again, lost the game at home. UNC Wilmington's first win over a ranked road team in its history. The only other one came in the 2002 NCAA tournament under Jerry Wainwright. So only 2 wins ever over ranked opponents. That was Southern Cal back 21 years ago. This is a good team. I just mentioned Hofstra. The top of the CAA is actually going to be pretty good. So I'm going to say that the winner of that league is going to be probably a 13 seed. So this could actually, it could age decently in this regard. If you told me it was a quad 3 and not a quad 4, I think that's on the table there. But regardless, you don't want this loss, period. Trezarian White was a beast. I was dialed into this basically from about the 15 or 14-minute mark of the first half to the end of it. I was locked in there. White had 27 points, 10 rebounds. And I want to give a shout out to the guys. If you're a mid-major team and you come up big in a place like Rupp Arena, I'm going to give you a shout out. Donovan Newby had 15 points. Shaquem Phillips had 13. Takeo Siddle is a really good coach, and he will get a job promotion sooner than later if indeed he is seeking that. UNCW led this game, GP, for more than 35 minutes and outscored Kentucky's bench 46-5. I know that DJ Wagner didn't play in the game, so, similar to the Duke thing, they didn't have a pretty heralded person in their backcourt available for this. I don't care. If you're Kentucky and you're at home and you're playing a mid-major opponent, zero excuse ever for getting outscored 46-5 on the bench. Should never happen. Reed Shepherd, he had 25 and 6. Yet again, Reed Shepherd's out there looking like he's trying to carry this whole team. How about this, though? Here's what's damning, and I'm not running off of what I said. I still buy Kentucky big picture and what it's doing. It might take a little while more to figure this out, but I still like what I'm seeing if the loss was bad. However, you want alarming? Here we go. Kentucky went into the game shooting 42.6% from beyond the arc, which was top 5 in the country. It shot 29% against UNCW. It went into the game shooting 28 threes per game, by far the most ever under Cal. It only got off 17 from behind the three-point line on Saturday. It went into the game averaging 94.4 points, which was 3rd best in the sport. UNCW held Kentucky to 73, so more than 20 points lower than what it normally gets. And then going into the game, Kentucky, on average, was committing just 13.6 fouls per game, the lowest in the SEC, had 19. So to me, that's representative of Siddle and his staff having a great game plan, the team executing, in addition to holding Dillingham to only 2 points, who had a couple of just bonehead fouls, like you just don't need them, how he committed them. Aaron Bradshaw made his debut. He's going to need time to get adjusted there. Reeves fouled out. Trey Mitchell had 4. I don't think, I can't even believe I'm saying this because I know how critical, and we've been on Cal's ass plenty over the past however long with this. I guess I like the personnel so much that I think there is a healthy chance that we will look up in the middle of January, late January, Parrish, and see a Kentucky team in charge in that conference, or if not, right there. But if you're a Kentucky fan and you kind of got like, whoa, what do we got here? I get that, but for whatever reason, I'm not as there as I might be with Duke or Nova.
Yeah, I'm same. And maybe that makes no sense. Maybe we'll look back and go, oh, buddy,
it's entirely possible.
Because it's undeniable on Saturday, the worst loss was the Kentucky loss. It was the one that was at home. It was the one with the biggest point spread. No DJ Wagner. Guess who knew that? The odds makers still made him a 17.5 point favorite without DJ Wagner against UNC Wilmington. And they lose the game. UNC Wilmington entered at 145th at KenPom, had already taken losses to Appalachian State and East Carolina. And yet when I watched it, and even the post-game press conference, John didn't seem that concerned. He was just like, we just didn't play the way we've been playing. I don't really know, They got nothing from the perimeter in terms of shooting from anybody but Reed Sheppard. Reed was good again. Like you said, 25 points. Kentucky's players not named Reed Sheppard were 2 of 11 from 3. So they didn't shoot the ball well. They didn't get enough around Reed Sheppard. We were wondering if he's their best player. It's starting to become less of a question. He's fabulous. But yeah, for whatever reason, I'm more concerned about Villanova, even though Villanova's loss from a points perspective was more understandable. This is maybe we'll look back and go, that was the first sign that Kentucky's youth was really going to struggle. Or maybe we'll look back and go, hey, Kentucky was really young. That's what happened that day. But then as they got older and gained experience, they started to rid themselves of those types of awful outcomes. As always, we'll see. But I don't walk out of the weekend going, oh, watch out. Kentucky might miss the NCAA tournament. That's not where I'm at yet.